All right, we're back again for another weekly shooting drill at OVR. This week's shooting drill is a beginner level. It's an orange, so it's the third or the most advanced beginner shooting level, and it's called a three-target transition. So you're going to engage three separate targets, 2 shots per target. This drill can be done at a standard range, and you can use a target that you can pick up really at any store that either has 3 targets or in this case 9 targets on it, and you just use the top 3, then the middle 3, then the bottom 3 different times. And obviously on a regular target like that, you don't have to transition as quick or as far because you're not moving your pistol very far, your weapon very far. Here at OVR, we can also customize it to be a standard silhouette, which is what we're going to use. But you can also adjust it to be a live action type picture. And unfortunately, sometimes you do have to engage a person in a self-defense situation. And so this gives you an opportunity to see what it would be like looking at a person as you're actually shooting at them in this scenario. So here at OVR, we're going to do just the silhouette. You're going to double tap each target. As far as the distance, they're about 8 to 9 yards away from you, and they're give or take about 4 to 5 yards apart from each other. So you're going to have to throttle yourself quickly to the next target, slow down, engage with 2 shots, quickly to the next one, and you are going to have to actually turn your body versus using that original target that we had where you had 9 targets on the same picture. You don't really have to move very far to hit all 3 targets. So I'm going to go through this with the pistol, not really much different than any other drill we've ever done with the pistol. And then I'm going to have Michael go through with the rifle. So how is the rifle, how is that going to be different than the pistol?
So the rifle is a bit of a bigger weapon system, so you have more actual weapon system to control as you transition between the targets. But compared to a pistol, you have a little bit more control due to it being longer, the barrel length being longer, so the recoil is going to be down. And then also on the rifles here, we have the red dot sight, which is a lot easier to pick up during transition versus using the iron sights on the pistol.
Great points. And you can get red dot sights on your pistol as well. You can get the laser on the pistol. I don't recommend those on the pistol until you're more proficient and a better shooter in the first place. So come on into OVR, work on your drills, work on all the kinks there at OVR, and then you can take that to other ranges if you need to. So as always, we're going to go over the different shooting styles, techniques, accuracy, things like that, and goods and bads of this drill. So for me on the pistol, I started this off and I got all 6 shots out in just over 3 seconds. My first shot took a little over a second and 1.3 seconds to get on target. If you look, the groupings are actually really good, which means that I'm able to stay consistently on target. Can I get a little bit better on accuracy? Sure, we can always get a little bit better, but certainly is well within that black to white circle that's in the silhouette. And that's the goal, is to get within that target first. Once we're in there, once we're consistent with the tight groupings, then I can start to zero those in a little bit. If I take a little more time to aim, then sure, I can be a little bit more accurate, but my speed's going to suffer. And so then you have that question of which is better, speed or accuracy, or it's really a combination of both. So, my splits between my second and third shot, about a half a second, and between my fourth and the fifth shot, about a half a second, meaning it took me about a half a second to get over and engage the next target, to be able to throttle up and then slow myself down to be able to get on target. So we're going to go ahead and look at Michael's results on his rifle, and we're going to go over, if you watch, we didn't record me shooting. It's a pistol drill. We've done a million of these. So on the rifle, we did record him actually shooting, and we'll show that comparison with the rifle, just on that quick movement that he has to do to be able to transition from target to target. So one other comment I'm going to make before I transition this over to Michael is, if you notice, the targets drop when you hit them with the 2 shots you're supposed to, but you don't actually see where those shots are hitting on the target. This is more realistic. You're not going to take the time to watch where your bullet hits, as much as you're just going to take your shots and see if the target drops or not. So, with that said, let's transition over to Michael and talk about the rifle a little bit.
So going over my run with the rifle, as you can see, my split times were about a quarter of a second, and then my transition time was about half a second. for each target. My overall time was 2.66. And as you can see, my accuracy, there is, some space in between my shots, but overall I'm hitting dead center mass in under 3 seconds for 3 targets. So I'll take that anytime.
Yeah, I agree with him that there's always room for improvement on any drill, whether it's him or me or whatever the drill is. And that's the point of practicing. You come in, you practice, you train. The other thing I'll comment on here at OVR is we can customize this however you want. Again, this is considered a beginner drill. We can make it more advanced. We can make it a Mozambique style shooting where you do 2 to the body, 1 to the head on each target. We can make it 5 rounds per each target. You can draw from holster, however you want to do it to make it difficult to train the way you need to train here at OVR, and we can do that.